All right, so there was a request for me to make a video, and I just want to say I made a whole entire video not realizing that it didn't record, so I'm totally annoyed. So I'm starting over, and I'm going to do number 8. And I know I did that in class for some of you, but it was a lot to take in. So maybe you can look at this at a time that makes it easier for you to focus. When you get to these problems, you look to see if you're in a situation where you might have the ambiguous case. I've been given one angle, two sides, so that can be a problem, but I have to check and see whether it's going to generate 1, 2, or no triangles. And I'm going to do that by kind of drawing myself a triangle. I like to put the angle down here so it's familiar. I put the side across from it with the matching letter, so that would be a 23 in this case. And then the other given side I like to put over here so that every triangle looks the same. This is now my A value, meaning the across from the angle. And I'm just using A so I think about it to match my notes. This is going to be what we used as B in our notes because that's going to be the other given side. And then this is going to be capital A in my notes because that was our angle. All right. So the other thing that I need from my notes is the height. And the height drops down in the middle. I don't really care what it looks like in my triangle. But in my notes, it says to take B sine A. So B is the other side, not the one across from the angle. So I'll need the 24. And then the sine of the angle that was given, which is 54. So the height is going to be, and I'm like struggling because I don't have a calculator at home. So I'm trying to use my phone, which is really not ideal for me. So 24 sine 54. So I'm ending up with a height of 19.4. So at this point, that's the only math I've done. Everything else is eyeball activity. So I need to compare. My A is 23. I need to compare it to B. B is 24, so clearly that's less. Now I need to compare it to H. Well, H is 19.4, which is even less. So I'm in this situation where the height is less than A, which is less than B. So that is, when I look at my notes, because I don't have to memorize everything, that's going to generate 2 triangles. So this is going to be a little more work, but in the end, I'm going to have a measure for angle ABC, side ABC, all from triangle 1. And I'll have a second triangle option where I have A, B, C angles and sides for that second option. So I'm going to draw another picture and then erase it so you can just kind of watch this. If this is 54 because they said so, this is 24 because they said so, the opposite side is 23, so almost as long. Here's the reality. That can swing through, and when it does, it can hit this bottom line here, creating a triangle where I have this option for angle B over here. That's my first option. If I have that same side and it's going to swing all the way through and then hit again on its way out, you can see that now angle B, my second option, is a really giant obtuse angle, and it creates this really skinny sliver of a triangle. So here, this is going to be my triangle 1, and then over here is going to be my triangle 2. Okay, the reason it's not highlighting is I blanked that out with whiteouts, so now it won't cover over it. So when I go to do this, this is my triangle 2, and this is my triangle 1. The thing that never changes is the given information. So angle C is 54 degrees in both triangles. That did not change down here in this corner. Side B is 24. That did not change because it was given. Side A over here is 23 no matter which location it's in because that was given. So oops, I'm sorry, that was side C. I called it A because it was a cross, but when I look back at my actual information up here, that was side C. It just was the one across from. So that is going to be angle C, side C, and then we have to find the other information. All right, so when you're using law of sines, which is what we're doing law of sines, ambiguous case. You need to know 3 out of the 4 things. So at that point, you have to say, okay, this is what I know and this is what I can find. This should not be new to you because we did this before and after break. So I'm going to set it up. Sine of 54 over the side it goes with equals sine of angle B1, the first option, over its side. And now I'm going to cross multiply. So I'll have 24 times sine 54, and then I'll end up dividing by 23. That's going to be the sine of angle B. So when I go through that, bear with me here, 24 sine 54, close out that parenthesis, and then divide that by 23. I actually get a decimal because I'm looking for an angle, so I need to do sine inverse. So when I do sine inverse of that 0.844, I find out that my angle is 57.6. So that means that 57.6, which I did not write very well, is my first option for angle B. Once you know your first option, you subtract that from 180 because this first corner and this other one are going to total 180. The first option for B and the second. So my first option for B plus the second are supplementary. That was in our notes, but that doesn't mean we remembered it at all. So I'm going to end up taking my 180 minus my first answer, which was 57.6, and I'm going to see what I get. 180, excuse me, minus 57.6. So my other option for angle B, meaning this one over here, is 122.4 degrees. And that actually makes sense because this over here is an acute angle, so that's the 57.6. This other option, once it swings over, is obviously very obtuse, so 122.4 makes sense as well. So I know this is a lot of work, but at this point, all I've done up here was just kind of look and compare numbers to decide how many triangles I'd have. Then I used the law of sines one time to find my option 1 for angle B. Then I just subtracted to find B2, meaning the second option for that angle. Now you can use what you know about triangles. You know that these total 180. So to find angle A, I'm going to be able to take 180. This is the first option right here. I'm going to take 180, which is the total for my triangle, minus the 54 I was given, minus the 57.6 that I found. And when I do that, I end up with a little something, 68.4. So that makes this 68.4. So at the top up here, my first option for A would be about 68.4 degrees. Seems reasonable. I'm going to do the same thing over here. To find my angle A second option, I'll take my whole triangle minus the 54 that was given here, minus the 122.4 that I found, and see how many of my 180 degrees are left. Not many. That's the answer. Yeah, so this seems wrong, but it's not. And if you look back at my picture, even though it's not the world's greatest picture, this actually makes sense. Because this 3.6 degree angle would be this little sliver up here at the top in my second triangle option, which is the skinny mini over on the left. That could be a 3.6 degree angle for sure. So all I have left after all this work is to find this third side in each case. So to find A1, I always like to use what I was given, which is the 54 and the 23, and set that up with what I'm looking for. And I'm looking for side A, so I'll need to set up my law of sines using big angle A, 1, meaning the first option. Cross multiplying, and at this point, again, this part shouldn't be super complicated. I'm going to take 23, multiply it by sine 68.4, close that down, divide by the sine of 54, and I get a little a value for first option of 26.4. Okay, 26.4. To find my second option, I set it up exactly the same way because my C is the same because that was given. But now since I'm trying to find side A second option, I need to use angle A second option, which is my skinny mini 3.6 degrees. Cross multiply, 23 times the sine of 3.6, close that up, divide by the sine of 54. And I get that the second option is only 1.8-ish. So I totally feel like that's wrong. But again, look back at your picture. You're finding this bottom piece. It's teeny. So it's totally logical to just get 1.8. So check that out. You're starting to see why I only gave you 4 problems and did one of them, now 2 of them for you. Kind of tricky. I covered up 10 and I don't want to do it for you anyway. I want you to at least have to practice 1 on your own. But I just want to look ahead real quick at number 9. Let's make the decision together. Here's angle A, side A, and then they gave me another side C. So I put my angle in the bottom left. Across from it, I put the same letter. So 17 goes here. That's going to be my across side. This is my given angle. And then the 5 goes over here, and I'm thinking of it as the B simply because it's in that other spot, even though that's technically side C according to their notation. My job is to compare the side across to the other given side. And in this case, this is a 17, other side's a 5. Obviously, A is bigger. If I look back at my notes, that tells me I'm only going to have 1 triangle, and that's awesome news after how long it took me to do 8, because that means I can go back and do this the way we were doing it long before this horrible ambiguous case came along. Go back to what was given. Angle A is given. Side A is given. Side C is given. I know both of these. I can find angle C first using law of sines. I can find angle B because I know the triangle totals 180 minus the 32 degrees minus whatever you get for C. And then lastly, you would find side B using law of sines. So hopefully that helps you get unstuck. Look forward to seeing you. Have a good night. Bye, guys.